Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. This video is focused on Poison Immune and Bleed Immune, somewhat double immune champions, or any champion that can deal with the Biohazard node. Biohazard in a nutshell is when struck 20% chance to inflict bleed, dealing 100% of attack as direct damage over 7.50 seconds. When blocking an attack, 50% chance to inflict poison, dealing 100% of attack as direct damage over 7.5 seconds. So this comes to the point of what are the best champions to deal with it, and there's some logical options looking at poison and bleed immune, but also there's some ones that are just outside the box. When it comes to Act 6, you'll be well aware of the fact that Biohazard is a kind of little stumbling block that you just don't anticipate, but at the same time you should expect. And it's important to identify the best champions to use that could bypass that Biohazard. And in particular, first that come to mind are bleed immune as well as poison immune. So which ones are necessarily the best ones to have for that particular aspect? Iceman is incredibly effective and a champion that I'm actually considering to get up to 565 now that I know the extent of what's entails with Act 6. So yes, a strong contender, great damage output, and the fact is, yeah, double immunity, poison and bleed. Even though I don't have this as a 5-star, it's still a viable option if you're considering using a champion against things like poison and bleed immunity. But Biohazard wise, if you want to keep your distance, and that's the code word of today, constantly keeping your distance and not getting hit, then you can still use Omega Red. The way that he uses Death Spores is still quite handy, like I said, but distance is key. And if you're a good player with this champion, then you'll be able to keep your distance, keeping up close. But when it looks like the champion is going towards you and breaking your block, or coming to a point where it looks like it's going to attack at you, your intercepts and your evades will be key. So yes, a viable champion to a degree, based on the person's expertise. Also, sticking with the aspect of expertise is Quake. Now, the way that you use things with Aftershock and the champion's abilities, if you're a very good Quake player, then you'll know that you can keep your distance, number one, and at the same time with number two, utilize this champion to the best of her ability. If you'd like a vid that showcases the way that you should play her more effectively, then I'll leave a link in the description to Dorky Diggity Dave, Dork Lessons' video on this particular champion. He puts out so many great bits of content about Quake, so yeah, this is a rated champion for that particular Biohazard. But like I said, keep your distance, but you have to know the champion well. Next up, and it's Nebula. Nebula's got double immunity, which is great as well. We've got shock charges, so you can build up shock charges, put in the shock debuff and completely obliterate the enemy. It's always trying to build up loads of charges, go to an L2 and then hit that in with a parry or a well-timed block, and then you're putting in some insane amount of damage. It's just handy to have that regen, a little bit of power locking as well. So there's a nice little balance and usage with this character. Next up in a champion I love using and one that I will be using through Act 6 is Sentinel. This dude is amazing, but at the same time, he's really handy for my map 6 grind, going against things like Caltrops, Biohazard if I need to do that lane, but mainly because a lot of my paths are bleed and poison immunity, as well as obviously Caltrops and other stuff. It is really handy to have this guy in my roster, and one of my favorite 6-stars at the moment, especially for Alliance questing. If you play him right, you can get a good regen, not an amazing regen, but something that's still quite good to keep him still in the game. But also there's loads of other stuff. Incinerate's really good, the shock damage off of the heavy attack, even like heal block off the L1 and armor break, you know, still fantastic stuff. Really well utilized character. I can't recommend Sentinel enough, especially when you get him up to like 5-star Awaken, 6-star, and obviously 6-star Awaken is my hope for the coming months. Next up we've got Ultron. Now yes, Ultron is an option. I could use this in Act 6. I'm not gonna, because the fact is I want to utilize things around 3 strong characters. If I could ever say I'd get a Quake or an Omega Red in the future, that would be fantastic, and that would make things like so much more fun and easier. But at the same time, I want to make it easier for myself. The rank up materials I've currently got, I'd rather take the tier 2 alpha I've got to then utilize on Iceman or on Sentinel as a 6-star, or even it's a case of using it on Dormammu. One's got power control, one's got heal blocking in their abilities, and also with Iceman is extreme damage output with those cold snaps and frostbites. But the fact still remains, this is still another option of a character. It's just one of those ones I won't take any further than 345 when there are other champions that damage output a huge amount or are more interesting to me for utilization. Also, to a degree, you can use Iron Man Infinity War, which I know to a lot of people may sound a bit weird, but hear me out on this. So the first thing is, if you get molecular armor, and make sure it's a constant thing, you can make sure that you are bleed immune whilst the armor is up. But this really means that you'll have to spend a lot of the fight intercepting, which if you're looking to, again, go back to this thing about making the situation easier for Biohazard, then it may not be something for you, but for more experienced players that are able to really intercept well, this could be pretty good. You just need to avoid the when blocking side of things. And at this point, you're probably going, well, doesn't that really apply for a lot of champions that are either bleed immune or poison immune based on the way you play? And that is absolutely correct. But the fact is, and again, this goes back to the code words, we want to make this as easy as possible and at the same time look at other out there champions to utilize. Now, those ones, as we've said, are ones that keep their distance, but also can put some damage in. So you equate your Omega Reds, etc., etc. But also, the ones that make things really easy are going to be those double immunity champions. Also, it's important to look out for those abilities of certain champions that shrug off certain effects, like Rogue, for example. Also, not forgetting Corvus. But watch out for the poison side of things. And also, to a degree, look out for Kingpin, who could be somewhat viable, even though there's a 50% chance you'll remove the debuff, converting it to Rage. That's odds that I'm not like. I'm more of a 100% type person. That's why the recent addition of Darkhawk does impress me, having this double immunity, and also he's a pretty viable champion. He stays in the game for quite a long time, especially when you consider changing different modes. He's a champion that I'd love to get as a 5-star or 6-star in later months, so fingers crossed for that. There's also Korg and Thing, more so Korg than Thing, based on the fact that the Thing can still get poisoned, so yeah, I really like Korg. I've never really used him, or I never really have like a stronger one. I definitely have a 5-star to use in things like Act 6. So again, fingers crossed on that one. But yeah, still kind of options if you're considering things the way you're playing with Thing. But there definitely could be some viability with Korg. Can't go wrong with Vision. Brilliant champion. Unfortunately, obviously, there's a monetary side of things to getting this version. The Age of Ultron version is still pretty cool, but this version here is like he's so fun, so impressive. Also, one of my favorite champions is Dormammu, and I really do enjoy this character. The fact is, it's got a few other things like Soul Bomb Detonation. There is an ability within it to regen. If you don't know how to regen with Dormammu, then I've done a video on it. If you just search Rich the Man Dormammu, then you'll probably come up with a guide about it. And also the fact that there's like power controlling abilities with this guy. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Really do enjoy the character. I know that a lot of people don't tend to, but like I said, it's one of my favorites. Now, there are a few iffy ones like Blade and also King Groot, but I don't think that it's good to use them at one given time unless you're kind of really confident in smashing through enemies. Yeah, it's with King Groot, you absorb the Furies in order to then take off the debuff effect, and with Blade, if you go up to an L3 and just keep the bar there at an L3, then you're going to be able to remove the effect. The effect's going to be able to cycle out quickly. I just don't recommend it that well because the fact is these things stack, so you just don't want so many debuffs on at the same time, and you can end up taking a lot more damage. It'd be a lot more hassle. That's the thing I'm trying to say, is like try and keep it as easy as possible. If you're really skilled, then you can use the champions that we've discussed for the really skilled. Your Quakes, your Omega Reds, and other champions like it. But the fact is, if you want to keep it easy against Biohazard, then go for the double immunity. A lot of the champions that I've discussed are amazing ones. Iceman, for example. Darkhawk is another one there. Sentinel. There's so many different ones, but it will be up to you which one you think is the best for this. Maybe put in the comment section below which one you think is the best for Biohazard based on whatever expertise that you have at any given time. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe for more Marvel Contest to Champions based content. If I've missed a particular champion, then put it in the comment section below. And as well, catch me in the live stream tonight, 1900 hours GMT. It'd be great to see you there. And yeah, see you then. Thanks and goodbye.